freeze again? Don't tell me you froze again. Like literally, I went to charge this thing up at the gas down at Mustang last night. It told me, device too cold.
Really?
Go yourself and find a warmer place to charge.
Is near empty. Time to recharge.
Yep.
I said, wow. I said, it's bad. My speakers even cussing at me to.
Yeah, it got cold last night. I usually keep this bucket and I kind of just throw my change in there. And when he come in, you know, it was really cold last night. We were like -2 or 3 degrees last night. I really hate to have to be sleeping outside and stuff like this. Yeah. Hopefully, yeah, I gave him all the change in that bucket. There had to have been at least $60 in there. Hopefully he'll use it. You know, he needed a tube for his bike and stuff like that. So maybe I'll get some good karma off of it. Who knows? Where we last left off on the video, I had just finished putting together the engine and pretty much done except for small little tweaks that I had to do, and kind of put it in the background after, you know, I was done with it, because I got a special order in that I had to complete, and as you can see right behind me, I just finished it. So that's ready to go. They're supposed to pick it up on Monday. So today what I did, or what I'm going to do today, and I've actually already started it, was I went ahead and took off the valve cover, and I'm adjusting the valve lash on all of the valves. I was contemplating whether or not to do it or just do it while I was in the car, you know, after trying to start it the first time. But I'm glad that I did do it now, because it's just a lot easier to get to these instead of, you know, leaning over the hood, you know, over the radiator support, trying to get it all, you know, especially the ones in the back. And it's just easier to work. And I'm glad that I did it, because right now, when I first started, all of the lobes were completely closed with no gap. And so, yeah, I'm glad I did it. I did the all of the intake and all of the exhaust valves. And when I first started, kind of had a mini heart attack, because when I started turning the crank to get it to top dead center and and turning the assembly here, because you have to have the lobes right about right there. And every time I started turning it, I would hear a clunk like this, like something was hitting on the inside. And immediately I thought that maybe the crank was hitting the windage tray, the valves were hitting the piston. You know, I was just, I knew I was going to have to take this engine apart again. But as I was turning it, there's a screw that or a couple of bolts that I have that hold the clutch in place. And as I would turn it, it would get close and it would touch this nut that's right there. I'm glad I found it before I started tearing things apart. But no, it runs all good now. So I've actually already pretty much gotten all of them done. I'm going over them again just to make sure that I got them all done right. I don't have that special tool that you use for Hondas to, you know, to loosen the nut in there, and then has a screwdriver attached to it to adjust it. So basically what I would do is I would loosen the nut with the 10 mil, use the screwdriver, turn it and adjust it with the feeler gauge. And then when I got it where I wanted it, I would keep the screwdriver in there and then use this small open-end wrench, and then just kind of snug it so that set screw wouldn't move, and then tighten it down. Make sure, take note of the angle of the slot for the screwdriver, and then tighten it, make sure it's in the same spot, and then check it again. And then I didn't need that special tool, so it all worked out. Pretty much, like I say, I got pretty much all of them done. I'm going to double check these ones on the back, make sure they need to be where they need to be, and then clean up everything again, reinstall the valve cover, and it should be ready to go. I did, like I said, I made sure all the marks were lined up. Get over another. So we should be right at top dead center right there. We're zeroed out on the crank, and so this piston should be all the way up, and I'm pretty sure it is because I don't have a gauge to do it. But what I would do is I would take out the spark plug and then just put this rod in there, and then it would move up and down as I turned the crank, and then when it got to the top and stayed in that position, that was the top dead center. So that's how I found that out. Okay, this is a K-tuned belt tensioner, and I had posted some pictures on Facebook page, B Series Enthusiast or something like that, and I had a guy comment that I had the tensioner wrong or something like that. And after explaining to him that that I just barely hand tightened it, and what I mean by hand tighten is I loosened this to the point where you could move it back and forth, right? Now, K-Tune sends a set screw for this particular tensioner. I know there's other companies that make this tensioner as well, but this is a K-tuned one. And they have this really long set screw that you basically screw in there, and it pushes in this nut and then tightens up against the belt. Now, I know that these are made to take up slack in belts if you have removed any material from the mating surfaces of the head or the block, which brings down the compression, also brings down the level of the head, and makes your belts loose. I don't have that problem because I didn't machine anything, but I just really like the way this particular piece looked and kind of gave it a dressed up look, you know, as far as a component on the engine. So I really don't actually need it, but I have it on there, and I'm not just going to leave this out here, you know, in the wind. So the way I did it, as you can see, my belt is actually pretty tight. So I got enough movement in there. It's not slacked. And of course, before you install something like this, make sure you do the proper steps to make sure your belt is tightened. And now how I installed this, I didn't use the set screw. I just pushed this up against the belt with hardly any, you can see that it's barely even moving that belt. And then tighten it. And you could actually still turn it by hand. looks like we made it. I decided to go ahead and bring the engine over, at least get it ready to be put in. Today was actually a really nice day. We're in the high or low 50s, something like that, which is warm for this time of season. So I just went ahead and I dropped some salt to melt all this ice that had developed right here in the front, because the sun actually comes in from the other side, and right here all of the ice just builds up. And a couple of days ago I had actually shoveled off the trailer and it melted off enough so I could take it in and get the engine. It's already about 3:30 right now, so sun goes down about 4:30, so I only got about an hour before the temperature starts to drop again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and bolt on the clutch and see if I could get it mounted onto the transmission. I kind of want to clean up the transmission a little bit because there's some oil and stuff like that on there. I've already kind of wiped down the engine bay because it had a lot of splatter from the honing compound, or the honing stone compound. And so I just sprayed it with some simple green and then just wiped it down. All right, clutch is on. Got the half shaft on, bolted. Kind of cleaned up here a bit, and then I actually had put on the transmission with the new throwout bearing, and I started rotating the engine, just making sure everything was good, and I kept on hearing it would stop. Typical fashion, nothing goes as planned. And I took the transmission off again, and I just noticed that right here is hitting on the housing of the transmission on the inside, right there. So, it's to be expected as usual. I'll just grab the grinder, I guess, and see if I could knock that little notch down, because it's clearing this point, and just right here is where it's hitting. So I guess I'll have to just take it down a little bit and see what happens after I do that. Well, that looks like that did it. I went ahead and did all three little protrusions that were there, because I knew I was going to get this damn transmission on, and it was going to do it again on the other one, so I just did all three of them. I was like, what the hell? Alright, so transmission is on. I have to take off the half shaft again to get that transmission off. I had put on that motor mount on that side because I know when I put it on last time, I had to swing it kind of over this way and drop it in between here, slide it back, and then bolt it in. And then that side just kind of slid in, and of course it's the rear T-bracket. But yeah, it's always an adventure when it comes to working on this car. And I think I put something here. Yeah, there we go. That's what I was looking for. New Mexico brewery, La Cumbre. They make some of the best beer around. Try them out. this is in.
Well done.
For the, I think, well, with this new block, this is the first time, but overall, this is about the 5th time that I've taken this engine and put it in the car. Seems to be minimal damage. Hardly any scratches, really. Yeah, I thought I was going to have a lot more scratches on there, but as you saw, there was probably an 1/8 of an inch maybe on this side and an 1/8 of an inch on that side. So, you know, I mean, no matter if you do it through underneath the car or on top of the car, it's just a pain in the ass. Unless you're spoiled and have a lift like some people. But yeah, this is all in finally. Jeez. And it yeah, it still rotates and everything, but it's too cold. I'm gonna clean up, I guess, and go inside and sit next to the fire and warm up. Hopefully next, well, like I say, this week is Christmas week, or next Friday's Christmas, and I want to, depending on the weather, maybe next Sunday, see if I could finish putting on the rear T-bracket, the exhaust, shift linkage. Still need the alternator, the starter, the wiring, all of the hoses, fuel line, intake manifold, everything else. So hopefully next Sunday, if weather is good as today, you know, like it was today, I can start a little earlier, because like I say, I had to, you know, split some wood, and I started off a little late, and by the time I went and picked up the engine, came back here, it was already like 3 o'clock. So, but it took a couple of hours to get this in, and looks pretty good. Yeah, I don't know. I was just dreading putting this thing in again, but I know there's some stuff that I've missed underneath that I probably should have put on while I had the engine in the air, but it was getting too cold. Like, I have this this plate that covers the flywheel, these brackets here, stuff like that. So yeah, I'm gonna, I guess, call it an evening, and maybe this will probably be a video that I'll upload. I mean, not a lot happened, just, you know, did a little bit of work as far as valve lash, got it all put together, made sure everything was running good, got the clutch on, got the transmission on, and the engine is in. That's like the hardest part, really. So yeah, thanks guys for watching. If you like and subscribe, thumbs up video if you like it. We're getting closer. We're getting closer. I estimate about another, let's see, another couple, depending on the weather, probably another couple of weeks, because once the engine is in and I start it up, and hopefully it runs good, once hopefully I get it started, it starts going, I still have wiring such as the rear brake lights and turn signals up front. I already have the headlights pretty much figured out, so that's all I really need. But you know, it's still a pain in the ass running wiring and stuff like that. So, and then just kind of slap all this stuff in. Oh god, it's so cold. Thanks for watching SWITCHJV's channel here, and we're going crazy putting this high compression engine in. I do want to do a compression test on it, see where we're at, right before I start it, and hopefully everything's good. But thanks guys.